welcome to the DF Retro Super Show. I'm John Linneman, and this is episode 4. We've got a great show today with all kinds of fun stuff as we wrap up the year. Yes, this is the final episode of 2025. Here's to an awesome 2026. To go along with that, we're joined by our usual cast of miscreants and retro gaming illuminaries, starting with, of course, the Sultan of Save States, Audi Sorlie.
Hello there, little boy. What kind of Phoenix games are you playing this Christmas?
Well, now that you ask, Norwegian Santa,
Not Santa.
I decided to pick up a copy of Home Run.
the finest of sports on the PlayStation 2, made in Japan.
I've heard it's great, so we're gonna fire that up later and have a good old time.
But yes, Home Run. What a game! What a time!
But of course, we've got the Autobahn racer himself, Marc Triforce Duddleson over here.
Oh, geez, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I feel a lot of pressure to prove myself on the German roads now, and I don't know if I'm up for it.
Well, we're gonna find out soon enough. Last and certainly not least, the editor of the DF Retro Super Show, the man himself, Coury Carlson.
I like that you don't even have a name. It's just like the man himself. It's okay. It's just I don't need one. I don't need one apparently. It's just, the man himself, and then they just know it's me.
You are the
You
man.
are the one. That's right.
I mean, you edit this show, so
The man himself. Yeah.
So today, though, guys, we have some fun stuff to talk about. We decided that this is the final show of 2025, so we're actually going to talk about things that we really enjoyed in 2025. So basically, favorite retro and retro adjacent stuff from this year. That includes old games that we played for the first time and really enjoyed. We're going to talk about new retro style games that we recommend and are awesome. We're going to talk about our favorite pickups of the year, purchases, as well as some cool retro game tech and the most technically impressive retro style games that we played this year. All that and more is coming up on this episode. But first, as we always do, we're here to talk about the news. But since this is a retro focused show, the news itself is also retro. So these are things that will have already happened by the time you hear it, but we're going to talk about them anyway. And to do that, we have Audi Sorlie.
It's time for the DF Retro Super Show News.
I don't know about this week, but in this time, we've had a fine documentary come out on YouTube. It's too unfortunate that we can't really speak to anyone who's been involved with it, but you have to take our word for it. That's very good. It is the GameSack / My Life in Gaming EGM Documentary, which at the time of this recording, I have not had the time to watch. I was saving it for a special time by myself with some candlelights. But Coury, obviously, you can probably take us through this. So how did this come about, and how long did it take you to make this?
It took way too long.
Let's not talk about how long it took us to make this.
Did it take longer than Analogue Frontiers?
Well, yeah, because we shot them in the same year.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
at the same time. I mean, this was kind of a bonus thing that we managed to slip in shooting while we were shooting things for Analogue Frontiers. Because we were making a trip up to Chicago, and it's like, well, can we shoot some stuff for EGM? Because I had started talking to Martin Alessi on Facebook, and doing a magazine, gaming magazine documentary is something that is very high up on like my wish list of things I would like to do. So we were making a trip up to Chicago, and I talked to Martin. I said, "We're going to be there. Can we like interview you?" And he said yes, and then he's like, well, I can probably get Ed Semrad to do this as well. So he was able to arrange that, and then that led us to getting John Stockhausen. And then the following day, we went to a swap meet at the Galloping Ghost arcade, and Martin was selling stuff there, and he said, I can get all these other people if you want to interview them today. So we ended up getting, was it like 3 more interviews, I think, that day?
Yeah,
3 or
we
4
got
more?
Ken Williams / Sushi X. We got Ray Price, and we got Chuck Mantieri.
Yes. So we shot all those in 2018.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
2018. You know what? I know it's a long time ago, but we're very lucky that the subject is evergreen, and I don't think anybody would be able to tell. This is probably news to everybody watching it that stuff was shot that long ago.
Yeah, although unfortunately,
there's some
of course,
receding hairlines that you can kind of tell by.
Well, yes, and Martin unfortunately is no longer with us, and he played such a critical role in his just enthusiasm for making this happen. Ed Simrad had been kind of off the grid, and no one had really interviewed him or done anything with him, and he just had such great stories to tell, and it was so much thanks to Martin that was able to happen, and this was able to be what it was.
Right. So we sat on that for various reasons, which I'm not going to get into here, but we were always looking to shoot more for it if we could. So when we were at the Midwest Gaming Classic as guests in 2023, EGM was having a reunion panel there, hosted by Frank Cifaldi, who, we interviewed Frank when we went to, and Tom Russo, who makes a little cameo bit in it, when we went to Digital Eclipse to film stuff for the M2 documentary that we did. Yep. So we were able to interview them then. And then at Midwest Gaming Classic in 2023, Mike Vallis was there as part of that panel. So we had all of our equipment with us for another reason. I think that was because Try had to shoot something for Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
This is all Audie's fault.
Never heard of it. Can't be that good.
No, this is all Audie's fault. Everything links back to being Audie's fault. But yeah, that is the reason why. Well, yeah, we wouldn't have gotten Mike Vallis if I hadn't had a reason to bring my equipment. So thanks, Audie.
Yeah. So from there, still continue to sit on it for various reasons. And Joe went with us to Chicago to shoot all this stuff, and he says, can I take a crack at editing this? Because I'd put a whole bunch of stuff together, in a timeline, pulled all these clips and everything. And I was like, absolutely. If this is what you want to do, go for it. And he just went to town with it. I think that he got the material in July. And so he's been working on it for the last, 5 months. And it just came out great. He was able to distill it down to a way where it is, usually our documentaries have a narration in it. And I'm so glad that he was able to cut it in a way where it's all sound bites. I mean, outside of some disembodied voices from Joe, myself, and Try, we're not in it at all. It's just a standalone thing. And I think that really goes a long way to making it more of a real documentary than, what you typically see on YouTube, just in general. And it came out incredible, and Joe did an incredible job with it. And I've been saying that I think that it's so much better than it would have ever been if it had been me that was editing it.
Yeah.
Well, he's
so
fantastic.
for clarity though, you're referring to Joe Redifer from GameSack. So the documentary is on the GameSack YouTube channel, but it is a collaboration with Coury and I on My Life in Gaming. But really, I did not really grow up with EGM so much. I was a Nintendo only kid for a long time. So, I had Nintendo power. So this was really a passion project for Coury and Joe, and, kind of getting Frank roped in to some extent as well. And, it was such a pleasure for me to, kind of learn this story as we went along with this and learn who these people were and how they made this magazine. And it really is just such an inspiring sort of story, and just an interesting time capsule of how they were figuring this out and how they were gamers first, riders second. And, it's just so fascinating.
There's some great footage in there of Ed and Ken and Martin at the Tokyo Game Show in 1991. And it's just... that what is in there is such a fraction of the amount of stuff that we were given.
I've watched the whole thing, all that footage.
It's incredible, right? So much good stuff in there. And we're not planning on really featuring anything following the Sendai buyout by Ziff Davis, but we were able to get some people that were there during that transition. So Dan Shu is in it, and Greg Stewart and Chris Johnson are in there. And we interviewed them just like in the last couple months. So it's been it's been a long time coming, and it could not have been done any better.
Like, I've been very excited to see this because it's funny that Tri says he didn't grow up with it, because me here in Norway, I grew up with EGM, and we actually subscribed to it since the very early 90s. I think to about 99, 2000, around about there, when I was done with school. So, like, EGM was hugely important for me being up to date on what was happening in gaming outside of Europe, because it was my kind of look at stuff like the 3DO and whatnot, as well as Japanese games, because they were pretty good at, for a while, featuring games from pretty much everywhere. So I've been very excited to see this. And I still have most of my issues of EGM laying around. And I was actually scheduled to be interviewed for this documentary, but we ran out of time in October, unfortunately. But I'm still very excited to see it.
Yeah, I finally watched the whole thing as well. I mean, I'd seen a lot of this footage over the years from you guys, and just seeing it all put together like that, just awesome. Really great story. Really happy that it finally saw the light of day and everyone could enjoy it. So if those people listening to this haven't seen it yet, absolutely go check it out.
And I remembered that Vega, or M. Bison, if you prefer the American name, had his Fierce Punch had like one frame of animation where it had like a flame on it. Wouldn't it be cool if you took that flame off of cut that off and added it, like his Dragon Punch has flames on it? And he's like, oh, that's awesome. And then he put that on there.
So next up, by the time this comes out, I don't know how lucky you've been to either snatch one or not, but Analogue did release a fantastic set of colors for the Analogue 3D, which we already reviewed here on the Super Show. And I'm pretty happy with my black unit, to be honest. I've never been much into the N64 colors, but if you were lucky enough to snag one, they are shipping by the time of Christmas. But did you guys kind of look at any of these colors and see something that you wanted?
I mean, I've always wanted a jungle green N64. You know, me being such a big N64 guy, people are often surprised that I have 3 N64s and none of them are Funtastic. It's just how it shook out. You know, the Funtastics do tend to be a little pricier, so I've just never really made the effort to get one. I would like them. I do like the Funtastics a lot, though. But I'm going to skip the Analogue 3D Funtastics, just because it's such an effort to actually get those. And I have to say, the white unit that I got as the review unit has really grown on me. It was strange at first because that's not a real N64 color, but I've become pretty fond of that white unit, actually. So I'm okay with this. But everyone knew they were going to do this. It probably ended up being Yes, it ended up being a lot sooner than people probably would have preferred.
Yeah.
Some people probably feel a little burned by having chosen the black or the white one.
Right.
And then, like 2 weeks later, here's the Funtastics.
Yeah, I mean, there's that and other things with production, cost of everything's going up, it kind of makes sense to get stuff out as soon as possible.
And also, of course, there was this big delay. We were supposed to get review units back in the summer. So yeah, they probably thought like, oh, there'll be, a 3-4 week gap between the regulars and the Funtastics.
I really like the grape color. I wanted a grape pocket, and the grape color 64 here looks awesome too. Sorry, the 3D, excuse me. I just always like that color. I think it looks really cool and I like what they do with their transparent plastics. I have one of those transparent Super NTs, the clear one, and it just gives it makes everything inside the case look slightly blurry, if you will. Like it's like an optical trick of the plastic that looks really cool.
What's interesting about that though is like I'm with you. I really like how that transparent Super NT looks, but a lot of people complained because their promotional renders were much more of a clear see-through. I prefer the frosted that it turned out to be, and in a similar way, I kind of prefer that kind of sort of off-white aged plastic of like the white Analog Duo. But people complained again because it wasn't like the renders, so people should probably be prepared, because I think the case may have been the same with the transparent Analog Pockets. People may need to be prepared to realize that the exact character of these Funtastics may not exactly match how the N64s are, may not exactly match how the renders are. I don't know what it's going to be like. It'll be interesting. I tend to like what they end up looking like, but people are like, oh, this doesn't look like what I thought I ordered.
Yeah, it's a little bit too soon. I'm still waiting for my cigarette-stained console with smell included. So maybe one day. Just like a off-yellowed, smelly console. I guess
well,
I can make
they
my
are
own.
offering a gold version.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
just leave it in the trash for a bit.
If you look on eBay, you can find some limited edition gold Sega Saturns pretty easily.
Yeah, sure. my console collection is just going to be stained collection. Just all kinds of gnarly versions.
The thing about that though is like it's been like a while since we've had like the retro brighting phenomenon, and it really sucks that I never did it either. But it turns out like as I kind of suspected, it isn't permanent. And we've seen a lot of people kind of return to their retro brighted consoles many years later, only to discover that they've re-yellowed and they're more brittle now. So like it actually kind of got worse. Not every case, but in a lot of cases, people are finding that the results have aged very badly. So I mean, you're playing with things here that sometimes it can be successfully quote unquote cured. Other times, maybe not. So you're always kind of rolling the dice with this stuff, which is a real shame. But hey, it's chemistry.
Somehow I've been so lucky and not gotten any yellowed Super Nintendos. All the ones I have been fine. I don't know
my childhood
if
system is.
Mine's good. Even my Dreamcasts are all like still perfectly white.
Same here.
My Dreamcast is, but my Super Nintendo from my childhood is yellow. But I mean, that's just part of it, right? That just really shows the age, you know. That's just
you guys were. It was a smoking household, and wait, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess my mom did smoke, but never in my bedroom.
But as we know, that's not the cause. That's just what people used to believe.
Yeah.
But okay.
Well, in Germany, they like their consoles melted. So
yeah,
it's just depending on where you live, it's a different taste. Yeah. So
yes.
But by the time you hear this episode, none of this is relevant. So let's move on. Some might call this next game retro. I think it just existed throughout all of time, and it will always exist. It will never leave. I don't even know why we're talking about this, but John knows. Skyrim is out on Switch 2. Why?
Yes, that's right. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is out now on Nintendo Switch 2.
Does it support the Macho Man mod?
No.
Have you ever seen this?
No.
This is a much better use of our time regarding this.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a Macho Man mod for Skyrim where all the dragons are changed to Macho Man. They come down.
I've heard that.
No. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
It's incredible. It's the only. I never played Skyrim. I've only played it for half an hour with the Macho Man mod. That is my impression of this damn game.
As fearless in death as he was in life.
Next, the orc.
There it is again. Did you hear that?
Yeah!
Everyone get back! Still alive, prisoner? Keep close to me if you want to stay that way. Gunnar, take out your boy. You have to find General Torres and join the defense.
You know what they could definitely do with this is they could let you play the VR version of Skyrim with the Virtual Boy insert thing that they're going to be selling.
You could use the Labo as well, but I guess.
Well, the
virtual
Labo's
is better
not
use.
compatible with Switch 2.
I guess so.
No.
Not yet.
I'm afraid not. Sorry.
yet.
You're
And
going to have to throw away your cardboard.
Switch 1 probably isn't powerful enough to render the game twice. I mean, it runs at 30 frames
They
per
gotta
second
have to
anyway,
make
I
some
think.
new cardboard
So,
for this. Invent some bigger
Gosh.
cardboard. So
there's going to be the cardboard Virtual Boy. So
Skyrim's the game that I own the most and have never played.
wow.
Really? You've never played it even? Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
I played it back when it released.
I did too. So this one's interesting because one of the things they've done is they've actually added DLSS to it.
Oh,
And so that's a Switch 2 feature. But here's the kicker. DLSS is not available in any of the PC versions.
Huh.
So
Okay.
this is the
Interesting.
first time they've added DLSS to the game. In addition, it also has mouse and motion control support, which is cool. I mean, why not? You know,
that is
to play it that
that's
way.
actually quite enticing to me. I love my gyro. So
Plus faster loading, you know, higher frame rates, etc. It says amiibo support. I'm not sure what that actually entails. If you put the Samus amiibo on it, do you get different music? Maybe, I don't know. If you put the Silex one on there, and it's like I hate you, Samus. But yeah, there's also the Master Sword, Hylian Shield, and Champion's Tunic. But I'm not actually sure if that was in the older original Switch version or not, because I haven't played that too much of that one. But either way,
I think it is, isn't it?
this very retro game is out once again. I was saying earlier they should release a physical collection, a box collection that includes every single version of Skyrim.
It'll be like that the box we saw in Germany on top of that shelf. You know, just elongated picture here. But there was what was the name of that game again? The one of the Destroy All Humans.
Destroy All Humans,
Yeah,
the giant
yeah.
collector's edition. That's
Yes.
yes.
That's what this collector's edition would be.
It'd be bigger than the DVD or the Xbox 360 release of Metal Gear Solid 4.
There you go. If anybody remembers that reference, that was the thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And with that, that's the end of the news section. So thank you, Audi, for regaling us with all this very up-to-date news.
No problem, little boy, man. No problem.
Yeah! Quickly, follow me!
Welcome back. It's time for our favorite retro and retro adjacent topics and games and everything of 2025. All right, to kick things off, actually, I'm going to start from my list, and we're going to kind of go around and sort of take turns here talking about stuff and discussing each other's like lists, because I have a big list here. There's some amazing things on here, especially Audi. There's a hot list in front of me. So much goodness. I'm actually going to start with retro games that I played through for the first time this year, because I didn't put many on this list, but there's one that really stuck out to me because I finally went through it recently, and I know Tri has played this as well, and it's the third Goemon game on Super Famicom. So I know you're a big fan of Gamian, as you used to call it. Goemon. Gamian.
Ganbear Gamian.
Ganbear Gamian. And so I love this series. I put this as my retro game of the year last year, the PlayStation game that I finally played last year. So, and then I spent this year like obtaining all the ones that I was missing. But I never actually sat down to play through the third Goemon game until I had a friend over who loved the series when he was young as well and had it on Super Famicom back in the day, and was like, what the heck, let's just play through it. So we spent the entire afternoon playing through Goemon 3 in co-op, and I had such a great time. It was so much fun. So this is the one that actually has like time travel in it. Mm-hmm. So where you actually get it. It has a bit of a Chrono Trigger vibe when you end up in the future and you're walking around this sort of like ruined, like futuristic looking town. And it's something Goemon will do again and has done multiple times, where they toy around with different time periods. So I think the second Goemon game on Super NES is the most straightforward.
Yes.
It's a very action-driven platform game with very small town sections. Whereas I feel like the first game on Super Famicom / Super NES, which was what was it called in the US? It was
Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Legend of the Mystical Ninja. Right, that's what it was. That one I think is fairly well known, to the point where I'm surprised that more of these didn't get localized. And that was a nicely balanced. I feel like 3, however, tilts back in the way of adventuring. There's a lot more story. There's more overhead exploration. And frankly, the stages themselves are larger and tougher than ever before.
Yeah.
Have you played this in co-op at all, Try?
No, I played this one by myself, although it was a long time ago. I streamed it and had a friend on the call who was able to kind of help me with some of the Japanese. I think I'm not positive if there's a fan translation now. I think there might be.
There is.
So this is the least accessible of the Super Famicom Goemon games if you are not playing it in a language you understand, because it's like you said, John, there's very much an adventuring component, a lot more overhead action in this one, but then it goes into the side scrolling stages. But it is very good, but with the language barrier, if you're not playing a translated version or if you don't understand Japanese, there are a lot more like kind of required quests that you have to complete and talk to certain NPCs in the town. Whereas the second one, which I think is one of the best platformers on Super Famicom, the second one is very accessible even if you don't use a fan translation.
Right. I guess that is worth pointing out then. I did play the original cartridge, but if you're not able to read Japanese, then yes, this is probably difficult without that fan translation. But according to Audi here, who keeps a tab on these things, it does have an English translation, which is awesome. So, which means I would recommend it to everyone.
Yeah. And it's actually the kind of the template for the first game on N64, the one that we call Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, is very much the game that set that template, I would say, in terms of the overall adventuring and the dungeon layouts, even though it's side-scrolling versus 3D. And as well, the second game on N64, Goemon's Great Adventure, the villain from Goemon 3 on Super Famicom, a like nun version of Ebisumaru named Bismaru, comes back in Goemon's Great Adventure. So fans of the N64 games, I think, have good cause to go back to this third Super Famicom game for those reasons.
But man, there's some difficult sections in here. There's like I guess it's like when you're going vertically through that one, it's like an airship like thing, or like I can't remember exactly, but it's there's so much platforming up there. And when you do it in co-op, it's like if you there's parts where you can fall, and when you fall all the way down, and you got to work your way back up. So it's like it ends up becoming a game where the stakes are quite high in terms of like maintaining your position in the level.
Yes, I mean, like the classic Contra waterfall, I always think of as like, that's a measure of how in sync are you with your co-op partner. So this might be a game that sounds like it could be a little more difficult in co-op versus by yourself.
I would say yes, but we also had just such a great time laughing and playing through it that I really had a great time. Goemon tickles my heart in all the best ways. Yes, it's true. I said it. But Audi, what has tickled your heart this year?
Well, in terms of retro games that I played for the first time, which originally was not on my list, but someone else has certainly put it on my list, is the Autobahn Racer series. So let's go into this, right? In Germany, as you all know, I'm a collector of underappreciated but still very good games. And we discovered this one developer called Davilex, which is another Dutch developer of PlayStation 2 games. And they made the Autobahn Racer games, which is, since the PlayStation 1 going into the PlayStation 2, is basically just the same game over and over. It is just racing through the streets of either London or the Autobahn. From Munich to Berlin, you can see the sights, as well as race as a police officer if you so want. These games were apparently popular enough. I remember distinctly when we discovered this that John's jaw hit the floor. These games were popular enough to get a feature film also
Yes.
called
What?
Autobahn Racer, which also
Yes.
then got a movie-based game, which
From
is
the
just the
same developer.
same developer,
And it's-
and the same game. It is the exact same game all over again.
Autobahnraser.
It is just the most incredible series of games I've ever played. I mean, Burnout, eat your heart out, right? So this was a discovery of mine that I think I picked up most of the series in one go for about €20. That's a lot of games for €20, let me tell you. So
And by the way, you can watch the Autobahn Raser movie directly on YouTube. It is there in
It's just
full.
it's just
It
there.
is.
It's
Yeah,
one of
it's
those.
just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those.
it is very German. Very German and very 2002. Let me just content warning. Whatever content is in there, I have not seen the movie. I played the game though, and let me tell you, it does leave a mark. Not the best of games.
I will say that Autobahn Raser, the series, is a little bit of a step up from like Phoenix Games stuff, like for real. Like it's not good, but it's very funny, but it's not like Phoenix Games bad, I would say.
No,
Like there's just a hint of competence, but not enough to make it good.
you can tell
But
that
enough
someone
to
on
make
the
a
team
movie
had
on
it.
it.
Just a
Yeah.
hint of competence.
And
Just
if you get and you got specifically the German version, maybe there only is one, but Autobahn Raser Das Spiel zum Film,
Sufim,
which
yeah.
is the game of the movie.
It's incredible. It's just the same. I mean, this was an engine they developed for the PlayStation 1/PC, and they never let go of it. This was their baby, and it kept going until 2008, I think, was the last release, or 2010. It was something around there. But yeah, we got to kind of experience most of this series in one go because we were in Germany together, and just so happens that these games are like a euro each. So it tells you a little bit about my year, I suppose. But this was among the more notable discoveries we had. It's so notable that you put it on my list, John.
So of all the Autobahn Raser games, though, I meant to go with Autobahn Raser Police Madness as my favorite. That one is
It makes no
particularly
difference
insane.
which one you choose. What are you talking
Au
about?
contraire.
The one you pick? You just pick the series. There's
Just
nothing
wanna say
to
Police
this.
Madness.
Well,
I just
police.
wanted to say policeman.
The best part about Police Madness, though, which I'll try to capture this so people can see it. Depending on which city you pick, you can crash into civilians, which sounds a lot more exciting than it is. But whenever you do, in their native language, they'll like be really angry at you, but not too angry, just a little bit, kind of just
No,
like,
just a little bit
well,
angry.
I thought the police were supposed to catch the criminals, not be the criminals, and things like this. But they're just,
Amazing.
you trash their car, it's flown over to the other highway, and yet they're just a little bit peeved.
Thank you, Davalix, for blessing us with this amazing series.
The Dutch, man, the Dutch, they knew how to unimpress in impressive ways.
Yes, indeed. You can feel that CDI legacy shining through.
Still to this day.
Speaking of the CDI legacy, Coury, I wanted to get your first time retro game this year that impressed you.
I opened my heart to experience Pokemon this year in a way to like put myself, I did it all on our Twitch channel, and I wanted to just like play a Pokemon game. And right now I'm in the middle of Pokemon Fire Red, which is like the remake of the first generation, and it's super fun. It's
And
super fun.
the third Pokemon game you've played through this year.
Yes, I played Pokemon Violet on Switch 2, and I played Pokemon Legends Arceus. And then everyone's saying, "Oh, you should play the original," but I didn't really want to go and play the Game Boy ones. But,
Right.
I could play the remake, which came out in 2004, and it's really fun. It's really fun, and if I can kind of understand why it has the reputation it has. And because when Pokemon first came out, I was in college, and there's just no way I was going to play that, especially with everything that was on the PS1 at the time. So it just seem too kiddie for me. And I've dabbled with them in the past, but never got out of like the starting area. But with the help of the live stream chat backseating, which I openly welcome for this kind of game, it's been so much fun.
I think people have enjoyed watching someone without like all of the baggage and all of the, well, Game Freak, I hate Game Freak now. Like you're just taking these games for what they are. And, so that's been interesting that, you, the oldest on our Super Show cast, has now become the biggest Pokemon fan among us.
But what I really want to talk about is Raw Danger on the PS2, which is,
yes.
the Disaster Report 2. And what a ridiculous, hilarious game.
Dude, series, man, it's the Zettai Zetsume Toshi series.
Yes.
So it's been around. I think there's at least 4 installments.
Yes.
There's 2 on PS2, there's a PSP one, and then the PS4 one.
Right. But this one, the US release was just called Raw Danger, which is an amazing name, for one thing. And it has a ridiculous box art. It was published by Age Tech. Or is it developed by Age Tech?
No, it was not. I don't believe so.
It's Irem.
I think it's Irem that did them. Yeah, it's Irem.
You start out as a waiter at this, because there's multiple storylines happening. You start out as a waiter, and you get trapped inside this building. There's a big flood happening. It's raining, and everyone gets trapped in this building, and you got to find your way out. The voice acting is so bad that it's captivating, and it's very janky and hilarious, but it's well worth playing, especially if you're into just ridiculous scenarios on the PS2.
Did you see, Coury, the way it was localized, by the way?
Yes.
The differences?
Yeah. You can tell that this is kind of a very much an Ace Attorney situation where it's like obvious it's in Japan, but then they gave everyone hair and it looks like it took place in Sweden. like they gave everyone like blonde hair.
They turned everyone blonde, which completely changes the look of everything. So and yes,
finally a game I can relate to.
It's quite a trip the way they translated this one.
Yeah, I live streamed it and the chat was having a great time with it. I actually played it twice on live stream, and there's one particularly funny part where I heard somebody yelling for help really far away and I could not find him, and I must have ran around for 30 minutes and I eventually found him, and he's like hanging off like the edge of the highway. He's yelling for help the whole time,
right below you, like
right below where feet.
And you're like looking around, like, where is this guy?
He's like right there.
Yeah, but for 30 minutes, can you imagine what that person would have been thinking if he was a human, an actual human?
Doesn't this game have like a compass that's like a dude on a jet ski at one point?
Oh, you can customize your compass.
You could like change the compass around. That's what it was.
Yeah, you get to ride a jet ski. And there's a whole bunch of stuff to do, and there's multiple storylines, and there's like relationships you can build throughout it. I was paired up with this one woman, and I was like constantly like trying to like hit on her, but she was just like blowing me off every moment. That like I don't know how you make that relationship happen.
You better play again and find out, Coury.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna replay it. Play through some of the other scenarios.
These games are cool. I do like them, but it is worth pointing out again that this is extremely janky.
Oh yeah,
it is. It's about as janky as you get from this era. Like the animations, the way everything moves and interacts. Like you got to go into it expecting this.
You got to have a soft spot for janky gameplay and bad voice acting. Like if that's you,
it's kind of like those Suda games back then, like Michigan and whatnot. This feels like a game that human entertainment would have made if they were kind of still around.
Yeah. I get that feeling as well, and it is weirdly like ambitious, right? Because like the size of the areas, the disasters happening. Like that's not like trivial things to simulate in a game. So like they really like put the effort in to make something pretty crazy.
Multiple characters to play through with like events happening concurrently with their timeline.
Weirdly enough, though, the PSP game is quite a bit more polished looking. It's much more visually impressive and pretty good. But I like this whole series. I think it's pretty interesting and fun, and those US localizations are special, to say the least.
I have the fourth one on PS4 that I have not played, and that one was delayed, I think, originally because of the tsunami.
The tsunami, yep, correct. That one was thought like it may never actually have seen the light of day, but in the end, it was completed. I'm not sure what changed with it, but yeah, there it is.
Are you helping the suspect flee?
No, I'm not. She's a killer.
Do you know what happens if a murderer escapes and kill again?
All right, but now that we're through a technical disaster, it's time to get to try. Go ahead and select one of the games that impressed you the most, a classic retro game. What do you got for us?
So I'm going to actually kind of do two together here, because over on the backloggery streams that I do on Mondays, we called this the year of the PS1, since, this is the anniversary of PS1, at least releasing in North America, outside Japan, 95, 2025. And one of the big games, and, one of my absolute favorite, games that I had not previously played through before was the original Tomb Raider. And
wow,
I have been afraid of this game for so long, but also so intrigued by it. I really like the intentionality of how you have to make every single move and be very careful, and how you have to hold the button to grab the ledge, and you have to really plan out your motions, but it plays out in a very predictable manner if you know what you're doing. I think the controls are not what people expect today, but if you can get yourself in the mindset of how to adapt to this style of gameplay, I think you'll find it's like extremely rewarding and satisfying to play through. And sort of in a similar vein, I just wanted to group these games together because that early exploration of 3D spaces and how developers were trying to figure out how to do this, Tomb Raider 1 kind of goes hand in hand with a game like Jumping Flash, where they're like, how do we do running and jumping platforming in 3D? Well, Jumping Flash is trying to do this like, well, if we do it through a first person perspective. And they do a lot of really intelligent things with how they like angle the camera downwards as you jump to kind of give you an idea of like, where am I going to land? I mean, the way Jumping Flash plays, the frame rate is pretty poor. I think the second game might have a better frame rate, but if I recall correctly,
it's not locked though, I don't think.
No, it's bad. It's unstable in every one of these games.
But regardless, like they play really well. And I think, for people who have tolerance for, that so unstable frame rates of that era, I think you'll find that it just plays really well. And I have a huge appreciation for these earlier explorations of 3D because it just feels different from what, we didn't have best practices for how these games should be made, how the controls should be. And I think these are two great examples that if you're just willing to put yourself into the mindset of like, this is not like what it is today. I will put myself in the shoes of someone playing this when 3D was relatively new. And I think you'll find that they're actually really engaging and really different from what you can play today.
I agree. And I'm a huge fan and proponent of Tomb Raider 1 specifically, because I think what it does is it creates a game where there's actual danger in traversal. You actually feel a risk. Like when you climb a large towering structure, like as you work your way up, actually the tension builds in a way that I find really engaging because it really forces you to like be careful with every jump and really plan out your route and like understand the controls in order to pull this off. And there's a point where that just kind of went away from games. I mean, Uncharted was certainly one of the big ones that got rid of it, but it's a thing that largely went away where it's like, okay, you're going to climb something, you just point the analog stick, press the button, and you just automatically go there. And that's not how Tomb Raider works. And so the weird thing about Tomb Raider, though, is that this made me realize that kids these days actually kind of like this kind of stuff. My son, who's into Roblox, plays those tower games. Those things are like Tomb Raider in that regard. You're climbing these insanely difficult structures, and as you go up the floors, like it might take you like a half hour to get to the top, but like on those last jumps, you miss them and you fall and it's over, right? And that those towering structures, like that same sense of like almost like vertigo that you get from that, like it really is like not dissimilar to what Tomb Raider 1 was all about. And it's just like from a lot of normal games, or quote unquote normal, that's vanished. And there is something exciting about working your way up a structure and the reward you get when you actually make it.
Tomb Raider for me was always a continuation of like the cinematic action game, like Flashback and whatnot. That was always kind of that was the direction I wanted 3D to go. So I was really into the original Tomb Raider when it came out because I came from that lineage.
That's interesting because I've never really been able to get into like the 2D perspective cinematic platformers as much as I want to. I enjoy watching them, but I just never enjoy playing them. But I think something about the more exploratory nature of the 3D space kind of makes me a little more open to sort of trying how some of these complex animation systems work with the climbing and stuff. So,
did you ever try Geograph Seal, by the way?
That's a game that has a different name in America, right?
No, that's a 68,000 game.
Right?
Yeah,
yep. that's from Exact, who made Jumping Flash, and it's basically the precursor to Jumping Flash.
Yes. I've not played it, but I know what you're talking about.
It got more of a Star Fox vibe to it with its very simple shapes and like
incredible
space
music.
themes. But yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And if you play it it actually plays really well on the Mr. Core for X68000 because you can massively overclock the CPU, which fixes the performance issues.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff.
I should also mention that I just for the fun of it, I played through Tomb Raider Anniversary on the Xbox 360 immediately after finishing Tomb Raider 1. And
and how'd you feel about that?
Well, it was really cool seeing
Where did that
like
tickle you?
It was cool seeing the different environments sort of reimagined. And, yes, design was moving more towards that direction that you mentioned, John, of like climbing being relatively automated, but it still had an element of risk and an element of how do I do this? How do I get from here to up there? That I think you don't get with Uncharted, or Assassin's Creed or whatever. Like you're just like, oh, I could just I'll just start going and I'll figure it out. There'll be handholds up there somewhere. Yeah, so even though it is a completely different game and it scratches a different itch, it still has that spirit of making you pause and think, how do I get there? There is still a puzzle to figure out with the navigation. And so I appreciated that.
And I feel like that strikes a really nice balance between the automated style and like the more classic style climbing. Yeah. And if they release new Tomb Raider games, I really hope that they understand this and go back to that and sort of tap into this sort of tension you get from climbing. The only real issue I had with the older Tomb Raiders, and in fact, the Anniversary and Legend and all that, is that the shooting itself is very basic.
Yes.
You just lock on, pull the trigger, and that's it. So if we could get like actual, like proper climbing, but combined with a more modern combat system, that could be the ticket.
The combat in Tomb Raider 1 is bad. I will say that.
Yeah.
But the platforming is so satisfying that it's okay because the combat is not what the game is focused on.
Exactly. But anyway, it's time to move on to the next category. We'll probably loop back around to a couple more of the classic games though. But next I wanted to get into retro games that we found very technically impressive. Something about the technology, something the developers were doing that really stood out. And I'm going to start here I'm going to mention a couple here because I think there's multiple things to discuss. First of all, I finally played through Battlemania Daiginjo this year, which is the sequel to Battlemania on the Mega Drive. And it's one it's a very difficult to obtain game. and something came my way that finally made it possible to own it. I'd saved playing it until I actually had a copy, so I finally played through it. And I don't know if you guys are, have anybody here actually played through it?
Yeah,
so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So this is a game that just goes absolutely ham with the Mega Drive system.
Yes.
And it really uses the hardware in some interesting ways.
Right from the start.
Dude, like, yes, the
Like
very first stage, you're going up the
building?
side of a building, like a skyscraper. It's actually a vertical stage, even though it's a horizontal shooter. And there's a point where, so all the way up through the level, you see your reflection in the glass, which is a very cool touch, right? You see the reflection of the moon, you see the reflection of your character. And then at one point, the reflection freezes and you realize, wait, it's not a reflection. It's like a mirror image of your character.
Mm-hmm.
And that character then shatters out of the glass and you're fighting it as a sort of mini boss kind of thing. And that's when you know, like, okay, this is on. But after that, like every level from there, like the amount of parallax scrolling, color, the size of the sprites, it's really just unbelievable. There's this one section where you're going through like a tunnel and like they do that effect that's similar to if you've played Taito shooters during the 32-bit era that were also on Saturn, where you kind of like Metal Black has this where it looks like you're in a 3D tunnel kind of effect where the background wraps around a little bit. They kind of do something similar to that in here, which looks really, really good. There's also, I think my favorite looking stage is the train. You know, that like weird demon train with the kabuki mask that's like tearing through the streets. Like just the amount of stuff happening in that stage, the backgrounds, the train itself, it looks so awesome. It really is a great example of just throwing around tons of like detail sprites and just mastery of the pixel as an art form. Like they really understand how to do it. And that's, yes, the soundtrack I think is what caught me the first time, which is what initially caught my interest because the music's so great in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fantastic game, and it's really sad that it's so expensive because if anybody has a way to play this, they absolutely should. But I've been asking for it for years, with the hope that Retrobit would be able to do some sort of like re-release of this because they've been doing their like their different cartridges and stuff. This is both this and the first game, Battlemania or Troubleshooter as we know it here. I would love to get both of those. They're both expensive in all their regions.
The first game, by the way, is also a good game. I like it a lot, but the second one really amped things up to the next level. And it's a standout and probably one of the most technically advanced like shooters on the entire Mega Drive platform. I mean, it's up there at least with like Thunder Force 4, if not beyond in some ways. So that's one title I wanted to mention. Another one I wanted to mention here to tie into actually as a couple PS2 games very quickly. One, Tomb Raider Legend. I played Tomb Raider Legend originally on Xbox 360 with all those like fancy shaders and stuff. But for some reason, I got a bee in my bonnet, as they say, and decided to check out Tomb Raider Legend on the PS2 to see what they did. And I was so surprised to find like, this is a really impressive version of that game. Like it runs smooth. It's very consistent. The level of detail, the texture quality, all top tier, but it's the water that really caught my attention. The way they do reflections and like distortion of what's below the surface, it looks like it's beyond what you would normally expect from the PS2 in a way. And it's really, really beautiful. They also have the physics in there. They do something with the flashlight as well that almost makes it look like a per pixel light source, even though it's not, because the PS2 doesn't do that. So like they've managed to sort of simulate a lot of the more modern visual techniques that we would see during the Xbox 360 generation and come up with a reasonable facsimile of those on that hardware. So that caught my interest. Along those same lines, I actually sat down with the much maligned Driver 3 or Driv 3er, as we like to call it. And one, I actually don't think it's nearly as bad as people say. I think there's an interesting little game there. It's just that I think everybody wanted Grand Theft Auto, and it's not really that. So there's a few bugs here and there, which doesn't help, but I think it's just a very different game than GTA, and people wanted GTA. But the tech powering the game is what's quite impressive, especially compared to GTA. They managed to do a full open world city like that, but with far more like actual detail in all of the structures and textures, the car reflections, the car models, everything. But what really impressed me, and I'm still not sure what they did here, is the shadows. I don't know if you saw it, but this is a game that actually has full environment shadows. Buildings and structures cast shadows on the world and on the dynamic objects. So when you drive under like a structure and it's got its shadow in the environment, the shadow plays across the car. Now, that may sound like nothing if you're used to modern games, but back then, that was virtually unheard of. That was just not something that games did. It wasn't really until like the arrival of stuff like Doom 3 that we really started to see that happen. And sure, we saw it on a smaller scale, like Silent Hill 2, right? That does that. But it's very, very small, like tiny little rooms. Somehow these guys managed to do it for a whole city. And it's actually like shockingly good looking and convincing. And I feel like nobody really picked up on this specific technical feat back in the day that I think does elevate it above other games on a tech level. So, not a great game, not a horrible one. I still think it's interesting, but it is technically interesting.
I like better the Stuntman series of games. I think that's the same developer, right?
In terms of fun, yes, Stuntman, aside from the loading times, which can be fixed if you use like an HD loader or something, the actual core gameplay in Stuntman is really, really fun.
It's really fun. It's one of the few games that I did get to replay this year, but it didn't really impress me, so I didn't write it down.
That's fair. So of games that impressed you beyond Autobahn Razor, what would you have to go with, Audi?
Man, so I don't have many examples because I didn't have that much time, unfortunately, this year to kind of go back and play stuff. But I do have two, and one kind of fits the technically impressive category, but it let me down in every other way except the music. When I was visiting Try earlier this year, I picked up Time and Eternity for PS3 for the first time.
Yes.
I never played it, but I'd always heard that it was kind of like an interesting take on action RPG. And that wasn't a good game. And you know me, like I'm fairly curious of these nature of games. So I did pick it up, and I gotta say that I totally understood why this game wasn't well revered for its gameplay. Just in terms of the game, it constantly slows down with these fairly obnoxious story segments and
story
back
segments.
in the house. The voice acting is completely over the top and of its era, very kind of ADV dubbing style, and just a lot of things that hampers the game. But on a technical level, the way that it kind of combines all these 2D elements, cell shading, and the 3D world, the music, which is by Yuzo, among, I think Yuzo and one more person. Yeah, Koshiro-san. Incredible. So in terms of just the technical execution and style, it's one of the more beautiful games I've seen on PS3, which is definitely an era of gaming I wasn't really into, but have been rediscovering a lot more, especially since the bad Avatar hack on 360 has kind of opened the console for me. So that era has kind of been more interesting for me this year than ever before, and this was at the top of my list kind of until I played it, and then I couldn't even make myself play through all of it. It just slows down to a halt, and the gameplay itself also becomes very... I mean, it is mostly just a little bit of exploration in these very small segments, and then like boss battles with a lot of storylines intervened, or intertwined rather. So like, yeah, I got it. Why it wasn't very well loved, but technically, I gotta say, I'm sure you have other things to say about it, John, but like, it is really pretty to look at.
Yeah, it's actually a style that's so good. I wish somebody else would give it a shot. And
Really?
where they essentially use like giant, large, full screen, like anime looking sprites.
Yeah.
Right. So all the characters are done with like obscenely detailed sprites, layered on the 3D backgrounds, running around, engaging in battle. It's absolutely nuts. It's like, what if we made like the most detailed high res fighting game sprites you could imagine in 2D and then made an RPG out of it?
Yeah.
And the reason I think this could work today is that when you look at what is done with like the Guilty Gear Xrd series, right?
Yeah,
those guys
totally do this.
You could do this in 3D and achieve the same look now, I think. And yeah, having the actual sprites is very cool, but it's also insanely expensive. And you can feel some of those constraints, I think, here.
Yeah.
But I think Arc System style graphics would help a lot.
Yeah, the thing that I noticed when Audi and I tested it out after he bought it was that you're kind of expected to do a lot of blocking or at least I think it was blocking, but it was like
countering and blocking.
The problem is that the mechanics are extremely laggy, and the way they do the animations are how they're tied to that. So you almost have to be very sort of predictive.
Yeah,
in terms of
it's timed so specific to animations rather than like reflexes or sound cues. Like it's tied specifically to an overtly animated game, so it doesn't like the timing of it doesn't feel natural at all.
Agreed. It's a real shame because this could have been quite a standout, I think.
It's one of the few games of its kind, in general, but also on the PS3. I mean, it's a fully Japanese developed kind of JRPG take, which you didn't get much of it during that time, at least for my impression of the time.
Interesting. Conceptually speaking, this feels to me like something that would have existed on Sega Saturn.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously with much better visuals, but this feels like a game, like, it's not that far removed from, like, a virtual hide-lide kind of thing.
Shining of the Holy Ark has, like, the
Shining the Holy Ark. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this feels like something somebody would have attempted on Saturn.
Yeah.
And they kind of did.
Virtual hide-lide is an interesting comparison if they only just went for more of a animated, right?
Yeah. Because that's also 2D characters and stuff. That's just, like, digitized, where this is, like, animated, but it's the same kind of concept, except for these levels are a bit more like linear, like you're following like large exploratory maps. So yeah, I mean, you're right. That's a really good shout, Audi. Technically speaking, it's awesome. It just falls short.
Yeah, it's not very fun to play. The other one that I have been, it is sort of like a cheat, I suppose, but at the same time not. We mentioned it on the show a few times, but the Final Fight Mega Drive version from Mauro, a Brazilian developer, it's been really impressive to follow. And lately, I think it's kind of closing now on the public release. And it's still, in terms of the gameplay, it's not fully there yet. It doesn't feel completely like the arcade version of Final Fight. But it has some neat deviations in the game modes. And it's just very technically impressive how close it does get. And also the fact that this is the first game that the developer is making and kind of learning the system along with developing the game, considering that, how close they're getting, and also the additions of like the overclock mode with more characters on screen, the new characters added, the color usage, which doesn't really get called out a lot when people talk about this one. It's just very impressive to me, this, and I'm really excited about what the final version's going to look like, no pun intended. But I just wanted to kind of mention it here, even though it is a little bit of, it's a new game technically, but
I mean,
made on
you and I, well, all four of us were involved in the DF Retro and Final Fight, actually, so it feels good to bring it up here. We did save Richard together, which is important to note. But yeah, this is a great version. I've also played a bunch of this, and the thing is, though, is like the Sega CD version was already awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like feels like taking that and going further, but it is an original work. But both absolutely destroy the Super NES version. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way from that version. So yeah, this is good stuff. But obviously, in terms of just raw visual quality, like the best brawler on the system is still Paprium. Like, despite all the weird stuff around that game, like what they accomplished in that game is insane. It's really, really incredible looking.
Yeah, I love
Still.
Paprium, so I got
Yeah.
no complaints. I played it quite a bit and really enjoyed it, but I didn't play it
But-
this year.
Of course, you know, if we're talking Paprium, we always remember that broken cartridge that Coury got. It took forever to get
Oh my god,
replaced.
I do remember.
Uh,
Well, no,
which-
I know. I didn't get it replaced.
Oh.
Audi was able to hook me up with a from
So-
the artist, right? The artist
Yep.
had a extra.
That's insane,
Copy.
man. So that's
I
just
still
you still have your broken Paprium, but so that does not make the list of most technically impressive things of the year, Coury.
can
but
hear that
instead,
heat shield like falling around,
rattling
inside the car.
around. Of
Yeah.
course, that's how it goes. But what's on your list? What impressed you this year? That's retro related and technically impressive.
Okay. For the first time this year.
Oh,
my
yes,
God.
And just
excellent.
what a gorgeous game. It does so much with so little. And the controls take a little while to get used to, turning with the shoulder buttons. It's of its era, but the style of it is just I can't believe that it's not used more these days. Like that flat shading with the very emotive face animations, or just like the look of the face. It's not even animated. It's just still textures.
The way that they use those still textures and like have them perspective correct based on the camera, like the way you see like the teeth and the tongue inside the mouth is perspective correct. I think sometimes that looks so much cleaner the way they do it in Mega Man Legends versus the way that just like, animated 3D mouths are in modern games. Sometimes it can look very kind of messy just due to the way they're either doing the cell shading or perhaps due to the way that the light works inside the mouth, if it's like not, ray traced or whatever, like it can look like the inside of their mouth can almost be glowing incorrectly or weirdly sometimes. And it just looks so much cleaner the way they do it in Mega Man Legends.
I genuinely miss that style of like emoting in games. I wish we'd see
same.
more of it.
Yeah.
We got similar with Skies of Arcadia, I think, but Mega Man Legends also, like that specific time period, they really developers had to figure out ways to sort of create that emotion at a time when the polygon budgets were very low. And I think using textures to do it was super smart. And they did such a good job here. It still looks great.
I plan on playing the second one next year. From what I understand, the second game has is the option to use a very modern control scheme where you can use like dual analog and use the shoulders for shooting and stuff.
Feels like
Much
Ratchet
better.
and Clank.
Yeah.
Yep, it plays
that
great.
sounds great.
I like the second one less, but it's still very good.
I like playing the second one more, but I like
More.
I like the story and just
from
the
the original.
atmosphere of one better. Trombone is actually my favorite of the whole series, like the Trombone game. It's very simple in comparison, but the humor is just perfect in that game, and I love Trombone as a character.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, all the characters are great. What an awesome series that
If
turned
you-
out to be.
if you like these games, though, I mean, you only play the first one, you said, but if you're into this look, Dr. Slump on PlayStation 1 uses pretty much the same art style as Mega Man Legends. So it's kind of like one of the ones you should check out if you need more of this from that era.
Yeah, I will definitely check that
I
out.
think Hilltop released a English translation of that recently, actually. So
Oh, okay.
you can actually play it in English now. And then someone put out that there was a demo or a prequel for Mega Man Legends 2 that came with the Japanese version of Trombone, and that's been translated as well. So you have more Legends now than ever before to play.
Okay, so that's really cool then. What about you, Try? Do you have anything that stands out in terms of technically impressive games?
A game that's, I'll be honest, is pretty outside my wheelhouse, but I played it anyway.
Okay.
Is Viva Pinata.
Whoa. Okay.
Which, so, many years ago, early days of my YouTube career, I started a series called Rare After Nintendo, where I was like, people always beat up on these rare games released on Xbox systems. You know, people, and I feel like most of that is just driven by emotion. Like, oh, Nintendo lost Rare and I'm upset about it, right? And I was like, I want to just judge these games for myself. So I've been working through them, but Viva Pinata being kind of more of like a farming-ish game. I can play sort of farming-ish games every now and then. I've been enjoying Rune Factory, Guardians of Azima, but it's not something I can play too often. Not really my thing as it is for some people, but as a Rare, after a Rare on Xbox game, I was like, I need to play this. So I finally did it this year. And I actually play it on Series X, where it runs, I'm not sure if it's native 4K, but it's significantly increased resolution from the 360 release for sure. Considerably more stable performance, considerably faster loading times, which is key because of how often you go in and out of NPC shops, makes that process much smoother on Series X versus the original hardware. But what's so impressive about it, I think, is how well it scales to that 4K resolution. And that's just pure success of the art direction and technical art, where they kind of built things. I'm assuming, John, is it kind of more like a shell texture, similar to like Star Fox fur shading? How they do like the sort of pinata fluff,
right?
And
I assume so.
I'm not really sure actually what it is, but it's something that scales. Actually, I kind of don't know if it is a shell texture because it scales so well to modern resolutions. It looks so sharp, and I think it's very rare that
rare.
It's very rare that through 720p class 3D graphics scale that cleanly while revealing so few flaws to that resolution. Now, unfortunately, it's not like Final Fantasy 13 on Xbox 360 to Series X and One X,
where you get the resolution boost.
Where you get the resolution boost in that, but you also get nearest neighbor upscaled HUD elements. And that's not something that's commonly done with the backwards compatible Xbox games. But for Viva Pinata, it, as is usually the case, it's just kind of, I don't know, bilinear or whatever. It's just smooth upscaled. But it doesn't look that bad given the way that those assets are drawn. It's pretty okay. And I do think the overall stability, improved loading times, and just sharper overall image is kind of worth it. Overall, like I didn't love the game, but I was never like miserable playing it either. So
that should go in the back of the box right there.
So it was fine, just not really my thing. I'm curious how Trouble in Paradise might improve the flow of the core gameplay, but still, it's a really good looking game with an ageless art style.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I'm actually looking at it running right now, and actually one thing that caught my interest is the grass effect.
Yes,
which reminds me a lot of what they did in Star Fox Adventures.
Exactly, right?
But like taken to the next level, right?
Right. So they picked a really, really smart theme, I think, basing their animals around that kind of pinata sort of fabric or whatever you would call it, that papery fluff and fuzz on a pinata. Like that is the way they implemented that, scales up so gracefully, and that's to me what's so impressive about it.
I would also say, like, this era of Rare, they really focused on what I call surface detail, right? Where the idea was like, and most games weren't actually doing this at the time, but we saw it right away at launch with like Cameo and Perfect Dark Zero, where they had the parallax textures, right? And then it kind of continues here where you've got all this grass and detail where they wanted to make sure that there wasn't just flat textures that looked flat. They wanted to ensure that every surface on any object had like actual like depth to it. And they were coming up with unique ways to do it that didn't involve just spamming it with geometry. And I really like their approach to visuals during this era for that reason.
The only problem, I guess I would say, is that, you know, you're kind of trying to build this beautiful garden, right? That can sort of, you know, let these visuals shine, but they have these really annoying monsters that come in and like kill your piñatas and trash buildings in your garden. And sometimes it can be hard to like actually shoo them away. So it kind of takes away some of that game design does take away from the visual presentation in a sense, but it's still it's really well done. It's really well done.
I also want to mention the water, by the way.
Oh yeah,
like in the era where so many games were using SSR and all kinds of like annoying artifact-filled water solutions, like you get perfect looking reflections here. I think it's just planar.
Oh
style,
yeah, planar
like,
reflect. Well, SSR wasn't really
it didn't exist yet.
That common. Yes. Oh, you're saying now in the era of SSR.
I'm saying like water, like it's getting better again thanks to ray tracing and other features. But like the PS4 generation was plagued with this artifact-filled like SSR water everywhere.
Yes.
And I feel like when you look back at games from this older generation, they often did it way better.
Yeah.
Like in terms of making a pleasing looking effect.
And it's cool that they can do the planar reflections alongside, you know, being able to fully customize your garden, you know, digging water bodies the way that you want them, placing objects and piñata housing the way you want, and it reflects that environment relatively accurately.
I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes wanting to ask this question. How does Trouble in Paradise compare to Thunder in Paradise?
Ooh.
It doesn't.
Unfavorably, I would say.
Okay, so aside from Thunder in Paradise, which I guess could have been a technically impressive game, but you first played that years ago, I say we loop back to our next category, which is...
Actually, John, no. Let me correct you there, sir. So yes, I did play it for the first time many years ago, but this year, I did get to play it again thanks to the CDI Mr. Core.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so on the Mr. side of things, which I generally don't really pay that much attention to, I kind of update myself maybe once a year on the Mr. But this year, there was a ton of advancements made to the CDI core, which was really exciting because at first you got some of the 2D games like Zelda, Once a Gamelon and whatnot playable. And then just steadily, the CDI community, all dozens of them, kind of got together and got documentation together for the DVC cart. Or DVC cartridge. I kept saying DVC cartridge, but DVC stands for cartridge. The digital video cartridge side of things, which gave the CDI a little bit more RAM and also a better codec for the video. So better.
Dude, not just better, but CDI video with the DVC card looks better than the entire following generation of consoles.
Near DVD. Not quite, but near.
No, it's not there, but it's good. It's really good.
Very good. Play Thunder in Paradise and you'll find out. But yeah, this is the first time. I mean, there was the beta version of the CDI emulator, which has never been a great way of discovering the CDI that you could play some of them on. But now, not perfect yet as of this recording at the very least, but it is getting close to a very, very good replacement for the CDI, which in many ways will need it thanks to some baffling decisions on the hardware side, namely the timekeeper chip and other things like this. So yeah, I mean, we could play Thunder in Paradise for the first time this year.
Heck yeah.
Wonderful. And you should, because it's great.
It actually is good. I mean, people lump that as like
it's fun. It's
bad,
fun. Like
but it is a fairly good light gun shooter, especially if you bring a light gun to the table, like the Peacekeeper.
Yes, indeed. We'll talk about this in more detail in the future, I'm sure. But for now, let's move on to our next category, which is likely free of CDI. Unless Audi surprises us once again, which could happen. You never know.
I'll try my best.
This category, we're talking about new games that are sort of retro themed, could you say, or at least new releases of classic games. So it's kind of a mix of the two. So for my list, to give you an idea of where I'm coming from, first I wanted to mention 3 titles from M2, specifically Operation Night Striker, the Gradius Origins collection with Salamander 3, and Night Striker Gear. So all of these, I think, are a perfect example of bringing back sort of this classic style in a really nice way. So Night Striker Gear, one that really stands out to me as a huge fan of Night Striker, which is the Space Harrier influenced cyberpunk, Dark City, late 80s Taito fly 'em up, where you're like flying into the screen, shooting dudes in your cyber car. It has water. It has tunnels. It's got all kinds of cool effects and a great Zintada soundtrack. It has it all. But we'd only ever really got a port to Saturn and PlayStation as well as Mega CD back in the day. And then I guess it showed up in some Taito collections, but it's not a game that lived in the public consciousness, especially in the West. So
only ours.
As a bonus,
I like it.
What was almost like a bonus for Operation Night Striker, which is a combination of like Operation Wolf and various other shooting games and Space Gun, as well as the original Night Striker, M2 actually created a proper sequel to Night Striker called Night Striker Gear. So it's using their own in-house technology, and it's just awesome looking. Like, it still uses 2D style assets, right? So it feels very authentic, but it's massively upgraded. It feels like what Night Striker 1 would have looked like if it had a sequel made 10 years later.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? That's what it feels like.
This to me is like a perfect game. And I don't mean that like, it's not like perfect in the sense of Tetris being a game for everyone. But like, this is a game that looked at the original, managed to harness all of the positive qualities of it and massively improve them. And they've done it so perfectly that when I played this for the first time, it was near emotional for me because I love Night Striker. And it was just like that with the sound design, not just the music, but also just the general composition of sound coming together. This was one of the more impactful gaming sessions I had this year.
And this is available as a standalone release. I bought the on the Switch, and it runs great on there. I think I don't think you mentioned this, but it's to kind of give you an idea of the pedigree of this. This was directed by Hiroshi Ayushi, who directed Ikaruga, and definitely like a work of passion here, because I think that. That was my immediate thought, is because, not a lot of people like Night Striker. Like, I remember playing Night Striker in the arcade at the Aladdin's Castle in Warren, Pennsylvania. And I just, like, the music that it plays when you're going through the tunnels in between the stages, like, that is, like, burned into my brain. And the soundtrack here, it's almost like it takes that and makes, like, like an orchestrated version of it, but it almost sounds like a monster movie kind of. Like, it's just like really big and bombastic. But it plays really good. I still haven't unlocked everything. I know there's a couple of things in the gallery that I can unlock. And it has one of my favorite gameplay progression motifs, is when every hour you play it, you unlock an additional credit. So then you'll eventually be able to.
Ikaruga, right? Doesn't Ikaruga do that?
Yeah. Yep. And Gradius 5 does that. It's a treasure staple, I suppose.
Yep. This feels like, treasure handling a classic Taito game. That's what it feels like. It's like a treasure version of a Taito game. And it's true to both. And I think that's really cool. And I think it's actually one of the things that I guess makes it Gear is the whole like transformation thing now.
Right.
You turn into like the robot, which is a bit extreme. But like, I just can't believe how like of the era this feels. The way it's got this stacked sprites like moving so quickly across the screen. It just feels so true to what those types of games are. The closest M2 has come to this in terms of executing is when they did the Galaxy Force 2 Deluxe Edition for the Sega Ages on PS2.
Yeah, you're
There
right.
was the high, I forget what it was. It was like the high end version of Galaxy Force 2 that was done in high res, all new like high res artwork, running in widescreen 480p on the PS2. That's what this feels like an evolution to.
Yeah.
And I know they put a lot of work into this game, and it was quite a difficult production, as I understand, but like the results speak for themselves.
The sprites look like they're like pre-rendered.
Yeah. Which
So is a cool look for it, I think.
it is. I feel like all the sprites, like it feels so like just right for what this era should be.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that it exists. And it really is like you say, Audi, it's not the perfect game for everyone, but it is a perfect execution
Yeah.
of this concept.
Yep.
And it's just clear that they wanted to make that, right?
Exactly.
Nobody was asking for it. It's like it's typical M2 where they like are just making something that they want to make and nobody was asking for it. And it ends up
And they
being
convinced
awesome.
Taito, I guess, to do it, right? Like they needed
Yeah.
the license to do this. So I guess however that played out, they're like, all right, well, let's do it. And I would like to see more games in this vein, like embrace this sort of 2D sprite, 3D simulation concept. Because it is still something I think that looks really, really good in action. So, but M2 also did this year Salamander 3, which I talked about, which is another take on like finding like they created like a virtualized arcade board spec from the late 90s as what it might look like and built a game around that. I think it's really good. And then, of course, there's Operation Night Striker itself, which turned out to be more interesting than I expected, because this was just actually a collection that M2 did for Taito, right? And so it does have actual Night Striker on it, which is cool, but it also includes Operation Wolf, Thunderbolt, and Space Gun. And why it ended up so cool for me is like playing this with the Switch Joy-Con in multiplayer mode is so fun, because these are light gun shooters, right? And Space Gun in particular is designed to be played like moving this cursor around like this. So it just feels right playing this on a large modern screen, using the motion control feature of the Switch to play these shooters. It's really, really, really fun. And Space Gun in particular, I'm a big fan of. It's just it's got a cool mood to it, cool visual design, lots of little interactive elements like shooting out stuff in the world, you know, like when you in that very first level, you shoot out the windows in the space station, which causes them to immediately seal, like a big metal hatch comes down after that initial blowout. Like really great attention to detail. I love it. So
Be remiss if we didn't mention in this category of games, though, the Haunted Castle game that M2 did as well.
was that this year too?
No, I think that was last year.
Well,
That
but
was
the
it last year.
physical, I don't think came out until
The
came out
physical
until
came out this year. That's why. Yeah, I only played it when the physical came out.
Well,
so
see,
that's why
I'm the same
confused.
way. I'm actually pretty weak in this category as well, because I'm always waiting for physical versions, and then when I
Yeah,
get
same.
them, I'm saving them for a stream. So like, I'm always like a year or two behind on like modern retro releases.
Right. Yeah, no, this was last year, but you're right. Like this fits exactly in the same vein as all of these, right, Audi?
Sure, yeah.
Where it's like they've essentially taken a classic IP and like built a proper sequel. And in this case, they took what was arguably one of the worst games in the Castlevania series
It's
and they
real
made
bad.
like a sequel to it that's actually good.
Yeah, it's real good. The music by Chibi Tech is also amazing in that
It
game.
is. Yeah,
So,
really good mixes.
I love when M2 does this, when they just decide like they're doing a collection, but they're going to make their own take on it. That's usually the most interesting standout in that collection for me. I know some people just kind of check it out and go back to the classics, but for me, M2 is just a very special type of developer.
So, Audi, then, what do you have on your list for this category?
So, like I said, unfortunately, I haven't played that many games that came out this year that were retro kind of related, or any games of that matter, because I've been too busy. But I did have a couple, and I'll be quick with the first one, then I think you and I will share the second one a little bit. But the first one I wanted to mention, which, again, it's a physical that came out this year, but the game came out a while ago, is Kinikuneko, which is a
Oh.
very interesting game inspired by stuff like Choaniki, and like Jungle Tachan and stuff like this. So I'm not sure if any of you are even familiar with what I'm talking about here.
I'm familiar with the references, but not this
Right.
specific game, Kin Niku Neko. But the name alone invokes a certain image.
Yeah, so this is a game that was made by, I think Kamotachi is the name of the developer. I think from Spain. If I'm wrong, please forgive me. But you play as this incredibly muscular human-bodied character with a cat head, like a cutesy cat head. And it is just a side-scrolling kind of beat-em-up / platformer with a ton of insane zany elements. A lot of inspiration from Go Nagai and like Choaniki and all these kinds of crazy things. It's not the best playing game. Again, kind of like a theme here, I think, where style is a little bit over substance. But just because of the love letter that this game is, and the fact that it's so close to all of my sort of sensibilities, it is, now that I got the physical on PS5, finally, it was one of the most fun games I played this year. And some elements that kind of grow a little bit tired over time as you play the game. Some of the humor doesn't quite stick to landing, but I was pretty happy with it overall. So that's one of the games that I picked up in the retro adjacent section. The other one that I was a lot more happy with, especially compared to another ninja game that came out this year, was Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Oh, my man.
And so I only got to play Shinobi very recently as of this recording, so I don't have a ton of feelings on it yet, other than that it gets a little bit too involved for what I wanted from Shinobi. But Ninja Gaiden Ragebound was basically everything I would have wanted from a return to form. And even saying that, it is not entirely a return to form of classic Ninja Gaiden, but it takes enough of the elements that I love about the original games. So you have classic 2D momentum-based action platforming, and the original Ninja Gaidens on NES to me are like almost a perfect representation of like melodic gameplay, where if you know the beats, you keep going and you never stop. And just the placement of enemies and the usage of items and the timing of your attacks is almost like melodic. This game really replicates that function really well, that mechanic of the original Ninja Gaiden. It adds enough strategy that you do kind of stop a little bit more than you do in the original Ninja Gaiden, and you have to think on your feet a little bit more, depending on what type of enemy character you stumble upon, as well as way more involved boss battles. And then you had the new gimmicks, like I really love this one, where you swap between characters and their abilities. The fact that that's kind of timed out and you have to be clever about where you go and how you do it and figure out that. It was just, to me, such a thrill playing through this beginning to end. And of course, graphics, music, just everything was done perfectly. It almost looks like something that was made in D-Paint. When you look at the actual like color usage and stuff in the cutscenes, resolution and visual image, like image information on screen, way bigger than anything that could be done on the Amiga, but the actual like stylings looks like something done on D-Paint almost. So there's a little bit of my Amiga heart that starts beating when playing this. So all this to say, incredible game.
This is from the Game Kitchen, which they also did the series Blasphemous, which was also known for its difficulty and pixel art quality. And yeah, when I look at Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, like, I would say that these guys are among the most talented pixel artists in the industry right now. Like they have captured the look of a classic game, but then elevated it to the next level so expertly that it's honestly staggering. And the pacing of this game is just unbelievable. You mentioned the swapping mechanic, right?
Yeah.
When you begin the game, you don't have that, right?
No.
It just starts out as just like straight action, right? And then each level goes on, you start to discover new powers. Like another one of the cool abilities is that thing where you'll have like an enemy that with like flashing with a certain like icon on them. You hit them and you're instantly powered up. And your next attack will be ultra strong.
Yeah.
So you use this to take out like very big enemies. So like as you learn the game, you get in this rhythm of like, all right, as I come up here, hit this guy, then attack this guy. And if you do it right, you get that smooth flow where you never have to break your stride, which feels great. And then add in the way they bring in the second character is you play up to a certain point, you find her captured, then you go back in the past, play a stage as her, and then they essentially merge from that point. And then it's like the game keeps leveling up. And then there's even a point where now you can choose from like, say, the next 3 stages. Which one do you want to go to? Which gives it a little bit more of like this little freedom. And it's just like this perfect escalation of what is basically a straightforward sort of game. But it's just the way it all works and comes together that ensures that it really is just, it's so beautifully crafted. And there's just there's so many beautiful like effects in there as well. Like there's at one point where one of the bosses I think is like flashing like electricity at you and you're like
exactly
dodging,
what you're talking about.
You know the one?
Yeah.
And the way it fills the screen is such a cool visual effect. It's like this huge blast of light that comes up with all the speed lines and like real detail in it. It looks like a giant explosion in the background, and you're kind of dodging it as you make your way through.
Yeah.
So it's Ninja Gaiden, but it feels like its own thing at the same time. So it's like a nice fusion of the both of them. And yeah, I love playing this game. It's one of my favorite games of this year, without a doubt.
Yeah, definitely game of the year material.
I haven't played that or Shinobi. I played demos of both.
I've played them both.
I am. This is the retro style game that came out this year that I'm most excited to play. But you know, because I like to save these kinds of games for streams, it hasn't made it to the schedule yet. But hopefully next year, maybe.
It's maybe I'm curious what you think, Audi. But in addition to channeling classic Ninja Gaiden, I also it reminds me of classic Natsume style action games as well.
Yeah.
Like Shadow the Ninja or Shatterhand.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like that kind of. That's why I kind of hinted at a little
Especially
bit.
Especially the level design, right?
Yeah, the level design and just kind of the greater complexities that comes with the new enemy types, and like you mentioned, the kind of new rage. And that you have to be a little bit more tactical on which enemy you target first in order to get power up to do the bigger ones. This kind of feels more like a classic Natsume style game. So they've definitely looked at the right type of games. And it goes back to what we were saying almost about the M2 and the Night Striker. That this is almost like a perfect game in the sense of like taking a classic formula and modernizing it and improving upon it. So we've been really lucky in that sense this year, I think, with that type of development.
So one of the games, it's a new game, and the gameplay is retro styled. It doesn't have what I would consider like retro graphics, but it's a game on Steam called Ashura the Striker.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So this is a Space Harrier-like game that adapts a lot of gameplay. Adapts the gameplay of, I want to say, Afterburner Climax, where you can build up a special move and slow things down, and also includes a little bit of a melee aspect to it. And this formula, it feels like it seems to be really hard to get right. I'm thinking, like even Yu Suzuki himself with Air Twister was like not great. Air Twister was fine, but it was just way too slow for what it was. This really encapsulates that like mad dash forward that Space Harrier has, and it's great soundtrack, great graphic. It runs at like a super high frame rate.
That first stage with the beautiful blue sky with the clouds reflecting across the glassy surface of the water. Oh man.
When I saw you writing this down your section here, it reminded me that I picked up a game this year called Angelian Trigger from Pixel, which is another Japanese developer and publisher. They're coming out with Bounty Sisters soon, which looks pretty good. But they did a kind of Space Harrier style game that came out on Switch and PC, I think. And I got the Switch version, and it runs a little bit poo-poo on the Switch, but I played it on the Switch 2, and it actually improves quite greatly on there. Still a little bit of a hitch, but like it plays much better. And it's a little bit of like it's Sin and Punishment mixed with Space Harrier, I would say, and a little bit of Time and Eternity in terms of the graphical style. So we're just bringing everything together.
About both of those. Also, Striker also has this like Time and Eternity look to it.
Yeah,
character.
So this is definitely if you liked Asura the Striker, which I really enjoy that too. Angelian Trigger, if you're gonna pick it up on Switch and you have a Switch 2, it's definitely one to check out as well.
So how are you going to connect this to your pick?
Oh
yeah, how do you jump off?
I can't really, honestly, because like I said, like I tend to wait for the physical copies, right? I don't usually get the digital ones unless it's just like something I really want to play and it doesn't look like a physical is going to happen. So often
that's why you waited to mention Blinks the Time Sweeper until now, because you finally bought a physical copy of it.
I mean, I got a physical copy of Blinks the Time Sweeper
so
a couple of years
Who
ago.
would ever want to play a game with a talking animal wearing like a shirt? Come on.
Talking orange cat, jeez.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of the things that I picked up this year are either a little older or, they did come out this year, like Suikoden 1 and 2 HD, which I've not even tried it yet, but it looks pretty good. I know John did a big video on Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which
yes,
with
Black.
your sickly voice in it. you had some laryngitis.
I did not feel good.
But Coury would have more to say about like the Lunar remastered collection. That didn't turn out too great. I don't think
it has aspects that are good, but
yeah,
it feels real messy. And like a hodgepodge of different graphical elements, imprecisely scaled.
Right.
And there was a point where I was going to do a video on it. I'll just talk about it in our year-end video on our channel. But if anyone's looking for a good version to play that's like been redone and scaled well, the iOS version looks really nice and is been redone in a way to play it. And it sounds ridiculous. But on an Apple TV, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It's properly scaled, and you can take different elements from different versions. You can have text boxes like the Sega CD version or the PS1 version. It's 4K. If you're looking for a version, yeah.
And it's like properly scaled.
Yeah,
it's kind of
no shimmer
shocking
at all.
But people might be like, oh wait, the iOS version's bad. But like you said, it's been redone. Like it became, didn't it become like unplayable? It became unplayable after like a certain like iOS update, and then they like released a completely redone version.
Yeah,
and it's only Lunar 1 though, I think, right?
Yes,
but it's like
correct.
It's from what I tested out, I'm like, wow, this is way better than the collection that just released this year.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It sounds totally implausible, but trust me that it's a great version to play. Yeah. And if you want to play that first one and have it look really nice, play it on an Apple TV or on your phone or iPad.
Yeah, kind of shocking. Yeah. But I guess I'll also give a shout out to, a lot of Digital Eclipse. Digital Eclipse has been kind of on fire lately, and a lot of their...
Literally. I'm still shocked at what happened to their office.
Wait, what?
No, I'm just kidding. Boy.
But a lot of their physical copies came out this year. Atari...
That's right.
Atari has actually been taking like direct-to-customer pre-orders for a lot of things, including their Gold Master series. We got... Tetris Forever, Llamasoft, Making of Karateka all came out, but also and Rita Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which I did actually. I played that 3-player co-op. It was fun. I did finish that. But what I kind of want to just give a shout out to, which I've only played for like 30 minutes, but I was completely unaware this existed, let alone that Digital Eclipse did it. But it seems really cool, is Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, which is like a remaster, I guess, of the original Wizardry game. And I was really, I don't know when this came out, but the physical copy came out this year, and it's really cool because they've got what I like about it actually is that they've got these options where you can tweak all of these sort of variables about the game to kind of customize your experience, where you can turn off like permadeath, or you can turn off this or that. But what I think is so smart is that they actually have this like really well-written rationale behind why you would choose the original setting or the sort of the modernized sort of setting that sort of makes it a little more palatable for modern players. They sort of explain, well, here's what you'll experience if you go for the original. And they kind of like, they write it in such a way where they're trying to almost sell you on the original design without shaming you for choosing to change it. So they kind of help get you in the mindset of like, oh, that actually is interesting. You know, why I would do this or that, or there's even a thing where I believe the original version related, like they had like a function for like your age, your character's age in the game, and like you get like I forget exactly how it is, but they're like, oh, this is weird, so like it doesn't actually make much sense in how we understand leveling up and progression of time in games today, so they like come up with a different term for it. So they like really cool variables, and they like really try to sort of educate you on why the original game was designed the way it was. And I found that to be, as someone who is interested in old dungeon crawlers, but is kind of afraid of delving into them myself, I've found that really educational, and I liked learning about sort of their thoughts on why the game was designed the way it was. And another thing that's cool about it is that you actually see, I don't know if it's like running on emulator, like underneath, like kind of the modern graphics, but you see like, I believe it's the Apple II version graphics, like kind of just in the corner on the screen, like alongside the other, the modern HD graphics. So it like kind of gives you this context of like, how the original game was functioning under the new coat of paint. So it's really cool, and has made me excited to delve into that game and see to what extent I want to customize the experience, and to what extent I want to learn, the kind of the school of hard knocks, I guess, some of the more old school aspects of it. It's a really impressive package, and I had no idea it existed until the physical came out.
I'm impressed, and like your commitment to physical is beyond, it's incredible.
Well,
it's truly,
I mean,
above reproach.
Like
I also care a lot about these, but like you are so committed that you will not touch a game until it hits.
That's not true, but you know what? There's so much out there, too many games out there, and I kind of use physical media as a sort of filter. Like, don't get me wrong.
Okay, that's cool.
There's some stinkers released on physical media. There really are. But
really,
it's
Audi knows all about that.
But it's a filter of sorts, right? Like, it's like, okay, like this narrows down what I am looking at, right? And it just sort of helps focus me on like, okay, what do I want to get? What do I want to spend my money on? What do I want to put my time into? But I will play digital only games, absolutely. But it's a lower priority. And if someone is playing out a compelling physical game, I'm more likely to grab that than a digital only game. That's just me.
I think next year we're gonna have to make sure Tri gets a full set of Autobahn Riser.
It won't be that expensive.
Play through.
Well, you know what?
20 euros well spent.
I'm coming to visit you in early
That's right.
2026, John. So
you better believe it. It's Autobahn Razor time.
You could be a bad influence on me, and I could come home with a full set of Autobahn Razor.
Since we're talking about physical media, we're talking about going to, picking up more copies of games. Let's finish off this episode by mentioning some of our favorite notable pickups of the year. Basically, physical games that we picked up this year that maybe stand out in our mind for whatever reason. For instance, a game that you've wanted for a long time, or one that took you by surprise, or like some kind of deal that you maybe got, right? That's the kind of thing I'm thinking about here. And I actually want to start with, I have a few on this list that I picked up this year, and it's a mix of high value ones and a surprise or two. So on the high value side, I mentioned earlier, I finally got Battlemania Daiginjo for a very nice price, far less than what you might find on eBay. So
I would hope so.
You know who you are. Thank you very much for that excellent deal. But in addition, I finally got my hands on Slap Fight MD. It is an awesome port of the Toaplan arcade game, but it also has a specific Mega Drive mode, which is almost like a sequel to Slap Fight with an amazing soundtrack from Yuzo Koshiro. Like seriously, like that first stage song is one of the best sounding things on the Mega Drive. It's really quite surprising.
And you got to meet Toaplan this year as well. You got to go to Toaplan's offices.
That's right. Thanks to you setting that up. I was at Toaplan and got to meet Yuge-san for the first time. By default, your ship is huge, but it has a Gradius style power-up system, and you can essentially use parts of your ship as like a bomb.
Oh,
so you can make your ship small again right away if you want. It's an interesting power-up system, though. But yes, you can make it gigantic if you want. Which is quite interesting. When I was in Japan, I found a few that I'd been looking for like obscenely low prices due to some of the off-the-beaten-path places we went. I got Panzer Bandit for PlayStation. I just think, Audi, you know that well. Which is an awesome sort of like action beat-em-up game that runs at 60 FPS, sprite-based characters on 3D backgrounds. It's really, really cool. I finally got Goemon Shinseidai Shume,
which is a very strange game.
That is the last Goemon game I was missing on PlayStation, and it's the future one try.
It's a little expensive.
Right. So in my case, I ended up getting a version that was missing the manual, but it had the spine card, but I also got it for like $30. So I was happy.
Nice.
I was happy to go for it. It was at a hard off out in Saitama. I was like, okay, I'm going to get this.
You are hard for hard off.
I love it. Although there's another place I found that I got to keep secret for now because please. It's like an unpicked gold mine that we found. But then I also got Virtual Boy Wario Land finally.
Heck yeah.
At a store out in Saitama, and I got it for a little over $100.
Wait, it's
complete.
Oh, complete. I was like, it's worth that much, but okay, complete makes sense.
It's worth. I mean, normally it goes for $300 to $400.
Yeah, you know the
Japanese version especially is quite pricey.
The challenge I find with Virtual Boy collecting is that a lot of Virtual Boy collectors, I think, are like they want the complete set because there's not that many, and they want them complete in box. It feels like an attainable goal, but because of that, I feel like when I see Virtual Boy games traded into game stores and stuff, they're complete in box, and you can maybe see a couple of mine out of focus behind me here. I go for saving money. I go for card only, so I'm often frustrated searching for Virtual Boy games. But yeah, I mean, Wario Land Virtual Boy is the best game on the system, and I think one of the best Wario Land games, period.
Yes. Agreed. It's awesome. And I ended up with so many complete in box Japanese games when I bought the Virtual Boy that I just decided to like only collect the complete copies, but I'm also only doing the Japanese lineup. Yeah. So like I have Jack Brothers, for instance, which is another get I got this year. And it was, Japanese version is much, much, much cheaper than the US one. Right.
So that is most expensive of them, right? So
yeah, there's Virtual Labo and stuff like that, which is also stupid. But the last one I want to mention, just because it was quirky and we all kind of experienced together, I picked up a copy of Splashdown Rides Gone Wild.
And so did I
year,
after you did.
not knowing much about it.
You thief! Like, this is a game. Let's no.
Okay, we do have to back up. You're right.
This is such a John did the Coury thing, right? Where he was like, "Hey, you guys should get Wave Rally. You guys should get Wave Rally. Wave Rally's good."
Yeah,
and we all got Wave Rally.
It's kind of
and it was like, and we all played it.
Y'all need to shut your mouth right now.
And it was like,
Wave Rally.
I guess it's technically impressive, but this ain't. I mean, this is pretty much underwater for me. And then I was like, well, since we're on this water path, let's pick up Splashdown. And that was the fun one. So I'll take full credit for this.
Yeah, well, you kept trying to talk me into getting it when you and I were game shopping.
Because I didn't want to spend the money. And then I eventually bought it anyway.
But then when John and I were game shopping, then we learned about not just Splashdown, but Splashdown Rides Gone Wild. And I'm like... We played this on stream at Corey's house, and the next day I was like, I gotta get this.
Splashdown, though, I've had Splashdown for years, and I like Rainbow Studios, like, Motocross Madness, ATV Off-Road Fury, all that. Not so much the Star Wars Racer game, which was super bomb bad racing, which no thanks.
Forgot about that.
But I only had played Splashdown. Like, I had Splashdown, as it's called, not Rides Gone Wild. And it really wasn't until this year that I decided to give it a shot. And wow, like the original Splashdown is a very serious game.
The Rides
Gone Wild, it's
pretty
not serious at all.
No.
So that's my gets this year. Audi, I know you got a lot. So, but beyond Autobahnraser.
Yeah, I got home run.
Home run.
No, so I will try to make this simple. I actually have a show and tell, but it doesn't work for the audio portion of this release. But I did get some gets this year that was very personal to me. So the first ones that I wanted to talk about, which are kind of special, was the fact that I mentioned it to you guys when you don't listen to me a few times. And that is that here in Europe and in Scandinavia specifically, Nintendo actually officially licensed rentals. And when they did that, they molded plastic cases for them. So in an era when Nintendo was doing pretty flimsy cardboard box arts, here in Scandinavia, we had these variations that actually came in clamshells. And thanks to a fan, I actually got my hands on two of the games that I love the most, which is, here I'll show on camera, Flashback and Another World, in these clamshell cases that came out. So just very quickly, I'll explain for the audio portion. So this comes fully designed for the clamshell. All of the Super Nintendo releases follows this design, where you have like the logo on top and then the box art in the middle. Comes with a description and translated. And then if you open it, which I'll try to do without breaking it, you actually have a holder for the cartridge, so it fits perfectly with the PAL cartridge, and a bespoke, notice the word bespoke, manual printed for it. So this is super neat. This was a company called Japon that did this, which I think was associated with Bergsala, which was the official distributor of Nintendo in Scandinavia. But it is really neat, though, because people always talk about flimsy Nintendo cardboard boxes, but here you have an actual official clamshell design for their 16-bit releases, which would be kind of neat if someone took this, 3D modeled it, and 3D printed so that we could do a full set of them. I know there's like universal game cases and stuff. There's also this variation, which I've never seen before. This is not by Japon, but it is still officially licensed, and it's done by SF, which is a movie distributor here in Scandinavia. And they did Flashback, which was done by Sony ImageSoft here. And again, it's just, it's not as good as the other one because it doesn't hold the cartridge officially, but it does come with a printout of the manual inside. So just kind of two neat releases that I got from a fan, So thank you so much for sending it. There also was a Bubsy release of this, which Martin Lindell, the historian from Sweden, got me, but has not arrived as of this recording. But I do, in fact, for the Scandinavians listening to this, now asking if I have the Bubsy release, yes, I do. The other one I wanted to show off that I got, and this, John knows about this one, and I can't believe I'm holding it. I'll try to explain. So I got the Park Asterix Collector's Edition. So this was a collector's edition for Asterix and the Secret Mission that came out on Game Gear and Sega Master System. Comes with a t-shirt and Christmas art on the back of Asterix. And this was only sold officially in Park Asterix, which is a theme park in Paris. And extremely expensive and hard to get. Again, thanks to the wonderful people out there that know I care about this, I got a good price on it. And I've tried to do as much research as I can on this to figure out kind of how it was distributed. And there seems to have been a few units sold in Paris itself. But outside of that, this was only available to those who went to the theme park and picked it up during, I think, 94, Christmas in 94. So it's a very specific geographical and time release, which I thought I'd never ever own this, because whenever it pops up, it's close to $1,000 or more.
Oof.
Spicy.
So inside there also is a t-shirt, and the actual game you can see there is Secret Missions on Game Gear. It's not the Master System version. So that's the pickups that I got this year that I really like. This has been probably the year I picked up the least in terms of my usual collecting areas, which is like Famicom and Super Famicom, PC-98. The only other notable thing that I did get this year was the X68000. I got Aquales, which is a really good Assault Suits Vulcan style game with excellent music, also by Exact. So they've been mentioned quite a few times today. And again, just a really neat release. I picked it up mostly for the Assault Suits Vulcan connection, of which there are really none, and also the music, which is fantastic and worth just the entrance price alone. So those are the pickups I got this year. And apologize to the podcast listeners that there was a little bit of a show and tell. But
you were descriptive enough.
Now let me talk to you about my rash.
All right. Well, that's probably one of the coolest gets I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
It really is something that's truly exceptionally rare.
Yeah.
And unusual.
Yeah. I think you know that I've always been into Asterix.
Oh yeah.
And sing its praises. But this was like a holy grail that I always told you about, that like I'll never have this. I'll never ever find this, and it's certainly not for a price that I'm willing to pay, because even though I love it as much as I do actually have a pretty good limit at how much I spend on a game. So this was, again, just like someone reaching out to saying like, hey, this means more to you than me, so here's a fair price, and then being able to do it, which one of the gifts of this wonderful community.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
That's pretty amazing.
Indeed. What about you then, Coury? What'd you get this year?
So this was a very slow year for me, probably because I think we only went to one convention. At least I only went to one convention. Yeah, you went to more than me. But I also, I removed from like somewhere between 200 to 300 games from my collection this year, probably, trading it into to Arcade Legacy here in Cincinnati. And because I had to pay for some other stuff, some unforeseen
Oh, I think
expenses.
I was with you for that, actually.
You were with me
went up
for
there,
some of that stuff. Anyways, the owner of Arcade Legacy took a little pity on me, and he's like, oh, you should use some of this on something in the store too. So I walked out of there with all the stuff that I traded in. It was like a couple $1,000 worth of stuff. So I traded in a couple $1,000 worth of stuff. And the only thing that I walked out with that day was Suikoden 2 on the PS1, which is the only game in the series that I don't have. And I was like, even though the HD versions just came out, I was like, I'm just going to get this because it's something that I've always wanted. And it was a nice looking copy with the registration card thing in there. That was the first time I went up there. And then the second time I went for something a little bit cheaper that I walked out with is Valis 2 on the TurboGrafx 16 CD. But outside of that, the only other one I can think of, or only other two that I can think of, is when a local electronics pawn shop near me, and this is like Try and John were both with me when I went and got these, was Thunder Fox for the Genesis and Battletoads on the Genesis. And, Thunder Fox on the Genesis is not an amazing game. It's missing a lot from the arcade game, and like mainly the shooting stages. And I do have an arcade board of that, but I do really like the game just in general. I like any game where you are a lone military guy taking on an entire army with nothing but a knife, and people just run into that knife. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a whole genre that I can get into, right?
It is really, Coury, a sequel to the Ninja Warriors, right? Like this is like a follow up to the Ninja Warriors.
It feels very similar, right? It's like a very similar. It doesn't have nearly as many moves, but it does have a few, and there's different tiers. You can do the backflips up to the higher levels, but the arcade version is so much better because it has these shooting stages where you get on these hover ships and you fly like into this air fortress at one part. It's just missing a whole bunch.
Yeah, and it runs at 30 frames per second.
Yeah, but it moves slow enough. Like the walking speed is slow enough.
I know. It's not a huge deal, but it's unusual to have a game on the system that's 30, right? There's a few of them for sure, but it's not that common.
I wonder why it ended up like it did, why they had to remove this stuff, because I'm sure that they could have fit it all in and done it so much better, but I wonder if they were just like had to get it out for some reason.
Probably. Just price of cartridge
Maybe,
space.
but
how much mega power?
Yeah, I don't know. But the other one is Battletoads on the Genesis. And John, you talked me into getting that because you said this is a really good version of the game.
It's from Arc System Works.
Only
it's a
John
Japanese
would talk
development.
this. John talks about this all the time.
It's good.
I mean, you're right. So, because Battletoads itself is fun to an extent on NES, but it is not great. I wouldn't hardly call it good. It is acceptable, and some people really like it, some really don't, like me. But you are right. This is actually playable and much more fun as a result.
So what do you think, Coury?
I barely played it. I mean, we only played it that one. We played it during that stream, but I haven't been back.
You were like, I can't do the speeder bikes on a sample and hold display. Coury, turn on black frame insertion. Turn on a CRT. I can't do this.
Oh yeah, like you kind of can't, right? Like that's pretty awful.
I remember that reminds me of you guys remember Rare Replay? I was at Gamescom when they were demoing that for the first time. And so I went into the Rare booth and they had like all the different games there. And I played Battletoads on this terrible LCD panel they had, but I still beat the Turbo Tunnel at the display booth.
Impressive.
There was a guy in a Rare shirt standing by the door and like much younger than me. And I went up there and was like, hey, I beat the Turbo Tunnel right here. And he couldn't care less. He had no idea what I was talking about. And he's like, oh, I'll take this then. He gave me a Battletoads foam hand as a prize. And I was just like, yeah, goddamn kids, man. They don't know the meaning of beating the Turbo Tunnel at Gamescom live on stage. So I tweeted at Rare, and they sent me a DM saying, we're very proud of you.
Excellent.
They're just like, wow.
Someone can do that? So...
on an LCD.
Amazing.
I mean, that's the thing.
Dude, yeah, I was surprised myself. I just I set out to do it.
If I can say, it felt really good to like get rid of some of the stuff from my collection that I didn't have any interest or desire to play. I recommend everybody kind of go through every once in a while and say like, what don't I want? Like, because you end up buying so much stuff that you're not quite sure if it's something that you want. Like it feels. It's good for your soul, I think, to not just to like have stuff that you care about, I suppose. Or
I live by the
interested in.
opposite of that, where every time I go to see John's, I just go pick up all this German trash on PS2 and whatnot. I come home, open my suitcase, and just like, why am I doing this? Like, yeah, it just pours out.
Coury wants to do things good for his soul. Audi wants to actively poison his soul.
I have no soul.
Indeed. All right. So try then. One more to go. What do you got for us?
I only wrote a few down, like mostly kind of the ones that were somewhat more expensive that I picked up this year. One is actually one that I know you picked up as well, John. And we both got it for a good price when we were traipsing about northern Kentucky back in April, eating, as much Mexican food as possible before you had to return to Europe. We saw at, what was the name of that store? I really like that store in northern Kentucky.
Nostalgic Video Games.
Nostalgic Video Games. Yes, Nostalgic Video Games. They had a, kind of rough looking copy of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for N64. But that's a game that often is over $100 these days. And so even for a rough copy, the game was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a rental exclusive, but you could also order it like directly from LucasArts, I think.
There was something weird about it. Indeed.
That was like Blockbuster, and then you could buy it specific.
Like Clay Fighter 63 and a third, or like the Sculptor's Cut.
The Sculptor's Cut was only Blockbuster. This had some sort of order. Yeah, that was pretty public.
You wouldn't really find it, though, just in your local, Walmart or Best Buy or whatever.
No, you'll only find this at Nostalgic Video Games.
Yes, you'll only find Nostalgic Video Games.
The name of a store that describes your goddamn life, and you still couldn't remember it.
It doesn't stick in your mind like vacuums and video games.
Man.
Oh man, what a store.
But yeah, so anyway, like I feel like rough looking copies of Indiana Jones that were previously rentals are like kind of part of the game's story. So for the right price, I'm okay with a rougher copy of that. And so you got that because I was kind of like, man, I've already spent a lot of money. I don't know if I want to go for that, but that's like such a good deal that if you don't get it, I'm going to get it. And you got it. And just back in October, I went to this wee tiny little convention called the Smoky Mountain Geek Expo, which I learned about when I was at the Southeast Game Exchange in Greenville, South Carolina. There was a banner at one of the booths that said the Smoky Mountain Geek Expo, Waynesville, North Carolina. I'm like, what? Waynesville is my mom's hometown. Like, why is there a geek expo in my mom's little hometown? Like, this is so weird. So I had to go just to see. And, as expected, it was a little more of a broad appeal kind of convention. Only a few dedicated game sellers, but I did find there, with some remainders of the Blockbuster sticker, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for, I think it was $70 or $75, which pretty good deal for it. So I went for it. And so that is something that John and I both got this year, I know. And then at the Southeast Game Exchange, I got Rolling Thunder 2 for the Genesis, which it did not have the manual, but I'm always willing to buy Genesis games without the manual if the price is right, if they adjust the price accordingly. And this was very fairly priced. So I'm like, I want that. Also got Gain Ground, which I think
another great game.
I think has the best box art in the American Genesis library.
As good as it is, it does not hold a candle to Ghouls and Ghosts. I'm sorry. That's like the best. My favorite box art of all time.
That one's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's nowhere near as good as Dynamite Duke's.
Now come on. It's really good. It's really good. You know what, though? You know what I want to keep an eye out for when I am in Europe next year?
Audubon Rosser?
No. I want to look out for the Master System version of Gain Ground. Drum and I played a bit of it on our Backloggery stream, And we actually kind of liked it more than the Genesis version. Like there's something about it that just like is really good. And it's actually kind of impressive how much they crammed. I don't know what the size of the cartridge is, but it actually has on the Genesis version, like each class of character, like they're either a male character or a female character for that class. On Master System, I think it's like player 1 is the male characters and player 2 is the female characters, but they share the classes. There's like a character portrait and like the sprite. And that's like kind of a lot of stuff I feel like to cram into a Master System game. Like they put a lot of effort and detail into it. It was a really fun version to play. I really want to grab that. But then the most expensive pickup for me this year at Southeast Game Exchange, I decided I wanted my like big pickup of the show to be Castlevania Chronicles, because I need to double check, but that might have been like the last like major Castlevania game of any description that I didn't have. And that's a very expensive game. And that's kind of a case.
It's become expensive, huh? I didn't realize.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I would have gotten it a long time ago if it.
Yeah, it was a $20 game when it came out.
I know. I bought it the day it came out.
Right. Well, and see that's where I learned that was like one of the steps along the way of learning. Like, you know what? Like, stop reading IGN reviews.
Yeah,
because it's like, you know what? They're like. Most reviewers out there are like, oh, this is old fashioned. This is outdated. This is less good than this other thing that's more advanced. And I'm like, I don't know why I listened to reviews like that for so long. Cause it's like, I like things that are outdated. I like straightforward action platformers that just feel good to play. And my tastes don't align with these mainstream reviewers. I wish I realized that sooner. So I would have gotten Castlevania Chronicles if it weren't for people being like, well, this isn't as good as Symphony of the Night. Well, it's not even the same thing as Symphony of the Night. It's not supposed to be. So yes, I wish I got that when it, I believe it was that was a $20 game at launch. I'm guessing it was like a budget game, wasn't it? I'm not positive.
Yeah, it was $20.
Yeah. Yep. So,
in the US anyway.
Anyway, I decided that, you know what, Castlevania Chronicles, I'm going to get that here. And
you did.
The guy had it for $200. And oof. I was like, I was already like, I got to talk him down. But he was like, and I'm walking away. He's like, wait, I'll do it. I'm like, I finally got him down to 150 or 160.
Okay.
But like, and I was like legit like,
Game's worth it though. It's really good.
So that was my pricey get of the year.
It's like that Spawn game for Super Famicom from Ukiyote, Super NES from Ukiyote. We saw it at that Retro Burza recently, and the guy it was just cartridge, and he wanted basically like 4 times the going rate for it.
I don't understand. I mean, it's a great game, but like not.
I had to shut him down right away. I was like, okay, this is extreme. That was one of the worst prices I've ever seen on something.
It's so weird to me. I remember when he showed me that, and I was just like, I don't understand where that price is coming from.
From somewhere, But anyway, that's gonna do it for this discussion, I think. Right? Like, we've covered quite a bit of ground. I really enjoyed going through all those, and I hope you guys did too. So. We've been talking for quite a while though, but I think that's how we do it when we're talking about all this retro goodness here on the DF Retro Super Show. So once again, thank you to you guys for joining me here today.
Yeah, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Hopefully,
Merry holidays, boy.
Yeah, hopefully some people are taking advantage of the longer episode to entertain them during their holiday travels.
And thank you to you guys as well for basically helping get this show off the ground after all this time. It's so great that we finally made it to this point where we're actually recording these episodes, and here's to an awesome 2026 with you guys. And we will see you all next year in the future. But until then, I'm your host, John Linneman, signing off. We'll see you next time.